In May, I was with a film crew in Wichita, Kansas, filming a two-part episode of Facing Life Head On. The goal of the programs? To give you an inside look on George Tiller, a well-known late-term abortionist. In particular, highlighting one woman's quest for justice following her late-term abortion by Mr. Tiller. And we wanted to share past and future legal efforts trying to compel Mr. Tiller to operate within Kansas law regarding late-term abortion. Little did we know when filming that only 9 days later, Mr. Tiller would be tragically killed by a gunman. We now bring you this story in the context of this latest sad development. Please stay with us. Most states in the U.S. have laws restricting late-term abortion, commonly defined as the last 2 trimesters of pregnancy. There's a place in the heart of America that regularly does abortions well into the last 3 months of pregnancy, even in spite of laws limiting them to extreme situations. The Woman's Health Clinic in Wichita, Kansas was run by George Tiller until his murder in May of 2009. In this nondescript building just off the interstate, women from all over the nation come for late-term abortions. In fact, Wichita has been called the late-term abortion capital of the world. A high fence surrounds the facility. Surveillance cameras and signs make it clear who's allowed in. This smokestack is from an on-site crematorium, which disposes of the bodies of the aborted babies. It's eerily reminiscent of Auschwitz. George Tiller's practices did not go unchallenged. Pro-life groups worked diligently on many fronts to expose the truth and offer alternatives to women who come here. A crisis pregnancy center operates right next door to the abortion business. In addition, volunteer sidewalk counselors are on duty every hour the clinic is open. They offer literature and counseling to anyone who enters the gate. They also place crosses on the boulevard outside the facility. With the death of George Tiller, the future of this facility is now uncertain. Another late-term abortionist has pledged to continue the late-term abortion business. So bringing to light what has gone on here remains relevant for understanding how late-term abortions could continue to be so easily accessible and why laws have not been enforced.
These crosses, there's 167 crosses. Those are to symbolize 167 that's done in a month's time. A lot of those would be late term. He does both because there are only 3 clinics in the United States that will do a late term abortion.
When I visited Wichita just 9 days before George Tiller's murder, I met Rebecca Olson, a sidewalk counselor. Rebecca sets aside time each Thursday morning to be outside the abortion facility offering help to women.
We moved here in October from Virginia, and I was horrified. I was horrified to find out what was happening in my, at my back door.
So it's a heartbreaking and joyful time at the same time when you're outside this abortion facility.
It is, because it's a proven fact that if there are people at the abortion clinics and people see that alone turns people away. Sometimes just the shame. They'll come out with their faces covered, and I've seen them go in with they're laying down in the back seat, just so no one sees them.
Yeah. Do you think you're going to be successful and someday this place is closing down?
That is what we're praying for. That's what we're believing.
One visitor to the abortion facility wasn't shy about offering his opinion.
Don't tell me your God is a God of love, it's a God of hate.
How do you feel about working here at an abortion facility?
I don't work here.
What is your role here?
I don't have a role here. I came here to see I got my boss.
Oh, who is your boss?
None of your business.
So
I work in private security. I came out here to get my paycheck.
Oh,
He's working today.
Does the private security provide security for this abortion facility then?
That's right.
Oh, okay. So you never work here yourself?
No, I don't.
Do you ever plan to?
No, because I'm not an armed guard.
Oh, okay. Do you have any problem working here?
If I was armed, I wouldn't be working here.
Okay.
I'm pro-abortion.
So you support the fact that abortion is legal?
Yes.
And that late-term abortions are being done here?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. George Tiller and his staff did not respond to our producer's request for an interview. Next, we'll meet a woman who's sharing her late-term abortion experience to expose the truth of what happened to her inside Tiller's facility. When Michelle Armesto-Berge of Topeka, Kansas was still in high school, she found out she was pregnant.
Pedro and I actually were excited. I mean, I was a senior in high school, so it wasn't like, I was 14, 15 years old. We had planned that we would get married and we would raise our family. About 3 or 4 months in, we told his family, and they were upset, but I mean, they were still like, well, you know what, we'll help you out, you'll get married, and we'll help you with the baby, and you can finish school. Both my parents at the time were finishing up college, my mom with her vet degree and my dad with his bachelor's. And I hadn't told them because I wanted to wait until we were all gonna graduate and all our extended family would be there. And since I waited that long, it was about a week before graduation that my mom came in and asked me, what's going on? I have noticed you're getting larger. Are you pregnant? And I told her, yes, I am. And my dad flew out of the other room and looked at me and was like, I cannot believe this. And one of his first questions was, how far along are you? And I said, well, I'm about 25, 26 weeks. And he said to me, well, great. That's beyond, the 14 weeks to get an abortion. My parents had looked for, an alternative, a different method that they could remedy this problem. And that's when they found Dr. Tiller's website. And my mom showed it to me and I said, I cannot do it. I just can't. That's murder. And from that point, for the next week before the actual abortion happened, they kind of kept me in isolation and said, well, make your own decision. But it was a constant, if you don't do this, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna leave you behind, because they were gonna make a move to New York without me so I could be in college and stay here. But they had basically said, you're gonna be out of the family if you don't choose this. I mean, it was basically do or die, and I was at that point in my life where you're 18 years old, you're at the crossroads of you're about to graduate, and you're not quite ready to just move on and be independent, but then they put me in that position of, you're either going to do this or you're going to do that.
At what point did you acquiesce then and decide to proceed?
It was literally like the night before, and this had been after I had, thought about it for about a week and spoken with Tiller's counselor, which once I got to the clinic, I realized was just the receptionist. And having my family over and over again drive me around and, just keep this isolation going. At that point, it was like, well, it's do or die. I either go with this family that I've only known for, less than a year and trust them, or I've got to go along with my family that I've known forever, and they've always taken care of me.
When we come back, Michelle talks about her experience at George Tiller's abortion facility.
Whether you're a student needing answers, a parent needing help, or a concerned citizen wanting to make a difference, Life Issues Institute has the resources you need to put your values into action. Life Issues Institute is an international educational organization committed to protecting innocent human life. Life Issues Institute knows what it takes. That's why millions throughout the world turn here for help. Life Issues Institute has authored more pro-life publications than any other entity in the world, and its materials are printed in over 30 languages. Radio broadcasts, newsletters, and a website filled to the brim with the answers you're looking for are just a click away. Go to facinglife.tv and click on the link to Life Issues Institute to find out more about how you can change the heart of a nation.
Having been pressured by her parents to go to the Wichita facility, Michelle recalls the process. What happened when you went to Tiller's clinic?
We had arrived about 2 hours late, and at that time they were viewing his legacy video, and it was a group full of women in like a living room type setting.
Legacy video?
Yeah, it's basically a video about his family and how his father had opened the clinic himself as a general family practitioner. But during that time when abortion was illegal, he had so many women coming for abortions that he felt it necessary that once it was legal to carry on his dad's legacy and help all these women. It seemed like the main underlying theme in Dr. Tiller's office was that you'd do it as a group so you'd feel like you weren't the only one, And then instead of calling it abortion, it was miscarriage. I mean, just different feel-good things about, getting your abortion.
How many other women were with you at that time?
I would say about 4 or 5.
Really? All late term?
Mm-hmm.
Did you talk amongst yourselves?
Yeah, we did. And one thing that always struck me as odd, especially, seeing what Dr. Tiller portrays as I'm helping these women that have deformed babies or, severe mental or health issues, none of them had issues. It was all, my boyfriend isn't gonna take care of me. It was, my boyfriend and I are in college and we just don't have time for this. One of the girls was actually in the same situation I was, where the parents didn't really like the boyfriend and they didn't think she needed to have a baby at that time, and she was about to graduate, so it was all pretty similar.
Michelle, describe the procedure itself to me.
Okay. The first day that I got there, immediately following that legacy video, they take you into a room, a very small exam room with an ultrasound, and they do an ultrasound to determine how far along you are in your pregnancy. At that time, I looked at the screen because, natural inclination is I want to see what's been growing inside of me. And as soon as I looked over, the nurse and the doctor just turned the monitor and said, "You're not allowed to look at this." Once they were done with the ultrasound, they sent me off to the restroom, and then they asked me back into a room that was across the hall. In that room, they did the actual injection. And they take an ultrasound again, have you lie on your back, and they guide a needle about this long. And then, they find the baby and then inject it with the poison. And then...
Do you know what kind of poison it was?
It's the dioxin.
Digoxin?
Yeah. And I specifically remember because my mom had come along with me. They took all of the parents or grandparents and put them in a room and talked about it. And one of the girls was 15. And I don't know if her boyfriend had convinced her this is what to do, but her father kept saying, that's my grandbaby. I really don't want to be here. Also, the next day, they have you come back in, and that's when they start the labor process. You're under a twilight anesthesia, so you're coming in and out, you're real groggy, almost like you're intoxicated. And I remember once that took effect, they wheeled me into another room that was right off of that room, and they took me into this exam room, and I remember thinking, because my mom's a veterinarian, this is odd, they're putting me on a small metal table, like they would an animal. And then that's where they broke the bag of waters, and then they brought me back in, to my bed in that group room. And then I remember a time later, them taking me and putting me in the bathroom. And at that time, the nurse had told me, she said, it's time to push, you need to push. And I said, no, I'm not gonna push, I'm on the toilet, I'm not gonna do this. And at that point, I delivered the baby, and she just set it right to the left of the toilet, and that was
Did you see the baby?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Was it a boy or a girl?
It was, I couldn't tell if it was a boy or a girl. But I mean, it was about that big, and I mean, definitely looked like a baby.
During the abortion process, Michelle's boyfriend and father of her baby tried to intervene to stop her.
He did find out. He did wonder where I had gone because we had spent every day together. So 2 days into the process, he had come to Wichita and was searching for where I was going. And he had actually found our hotel room, found my car, and on that morning when I was going to deliver the baby, he had let the air out of the tires thinking, you know, he'd be able to prevent it. And he actually came in, and as my mom was leaving the hotel room, he had pushed her out of the way and made his way into the room and said, please don't do it, you know, and had begged me. And at that time, I kept reiterating what, you know, their motto is in the abortion industry of, you know, it's my body, you know, it's my choice, that type of thing. So, you know, and then the police were called by my mom, and, you know, that police officer was actually a woman, and she came and said to me, you know, don't abort the baby. And I told her, well, it's too late. And, you know, she told me her own situation. She had been a young mother, you know, and moved forward, you know, but at that time it was too late. So, and they detained him, and as we left for the clinic, you know, he was saying, I still love you. So.
Must have been a hard time.
Yeah, it really was. And, you know, the thing that really bothered me too is, you know, I went home and it wasn't even like, oh, okay, you've just, you know, given birth. It was, okay, you know, we've got these other things going on. Why don't you just sleep here on the floor because we have these other guests coming? And I mean, it was really just an odd time. Really odd, really, you know, depressing, sad time.
When we come back, Michelle will talk about her life now and how sharing her experience is bringing healing and hope.
Thank you for inviting us into your home. Each week we feature real people who deal with real life issues head on. Some of their experiences are uplifting, while others will break your heart. But in the end, the message is clear. Those who follow biblical principles on the issues of life are blessed. Become a partner with us in providing a positive, life-affirming message to help change the way the next generation values innocent human life. Please consider a generous gift to help offset the costs of producing this important quality programming. You can donate on our secure website at facinglife.tv or by calling the phone number on your screen during normal business hours. Together, we can make a real difference for life.
Let's fast forward to today.
Okay.
What's your life like now?
I'm a stay-at-home mom. I go to school part-time at the University Washburn, and it's just 3 blocks away. And then my husband works as a insurance salesman and sells annuities and things like that. And we're just working on remodeling our house and raising our children and bringing our story to light and doing whatever we can to help and show people, you know, the process.
How many children do you have now?
3.
What are their ages?
3. We've got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So we're busy.
Life is lively around your house,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's a lot of joy, a lot of fun.
Michelle, you're literally one of tens of thousands of women who have had a late-term abortion at George Tiller's abortion facility. What made you want to share your experience?
I'd always in the back of my mind thought my abortion had been done incorrectly. I'd always had, you know, reservations. And when I saw on paper in the Topeka Capital Journal that my abortion was illegal, as I had thought, you know, and seeing that, to me, in my mind, I thought, you know, if these laws had been enforced as they are now, I wouldn't have been there.
Beyond the fact that you've lost your baby, what would you say the long-term consequences are for you and other women who go through this?
I think every time I've had a pregnancy, I've always not had the normal feeling of like, woohoo, let me tell everybody, you know, let me share it with my friends and family, because I've always had this negative outlook on it. You know, and then it's also been with the birth of my children. You know, you see that tiny baby, newborn baby, and you picture that lifeless baby that, you know, you had in the beginning. And, you know, just between our relationship, Pedro and I, it's taken us several years to get over it. I mean, it took about a year or two to really get through, you know, look, I didn't do this to hurt you. I didn't, you know, and the pain between my family. I mean, it's just been a strain that we've always had. And going forward with my story and getting it out to the public, my parents, you know, they had to step back and think to themselves, you know, and come to terms with the fact that, you know, it wasn't the decision that was right for me. It wasn't something that they, you know, should have forced upon me.
What in particular do you want women to know about your experience?
That it wasn't a neat and tidy process, that, you know, it is